in any case, these are all objective metrics. And as I said, they go from the bottom of the scale in both performance required to compute them and reliability or correlation with subjective opinions, and up to VMAF, which is probably today top of the scale for a correlation with subjective quality, but is also very heavy to compute. But all of these metrics have one thing in common, unfortunately. They're a number. They measure distortion. They're not a subjective estimation or evaluation of perceptual quality.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So I recently had the pleasure of hearing a very interesting PhD dissertation by Yochai Blau down at the Technion under the supervision of Professor Tomer Michaeli. And the title of his work is the Perception Distortion Tradeoff. And what he shows there is he shows both experimentally with two sets of extensive experiments that they performed, and mathematically using modeling of perceptual indication of quality and statistical representations for that versus the mathematical model of various distortion metrics. And he shows in that work that it's sort of mutually exclusive. So if you're optimizing your solution, specifically, for example, a neural net-based image processing solution, if you're optimizing it for distortion, you're going to have a less acceptable perceptual result. And if you're optimizing for perception, you're inherently going to have to slightly increase the distortion that you introduce. And there's like a convex hull curve which finds this trade-off. So mathematical distortion, A minus B, no matter how sophisticated your distance metric is inherently opposing in some ways to perception, because our HVS, our human visual system, is so sophisticated and does so much mathematical operation on the data that the distance between the points or some transform or wavelet done on these points can never fully represent what our human visual system does to analyze it. And that's, a fascinating work. I think it's the first time that it's been proven mathematically that this convex hull exists, and there is a bound to how well you're going to do perceptually if you're optimizing for distortion and vice versa.
And I think we also see this in video compression. For example, in the open source X264 codec and also other codecs, you can tune the codec to give you better PSNR results or better SSIM results. You can use the tune PSNR or tune SSIM flag to actually optimize or configure the encoder to make decisions which maximize those objective metrics. But it is well known that when you use those flags, subjective quality suffers.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And continuing with that, X264 and most other codecs generally have a psi or a psychovisual rate distortion mode. And as you said, it's well known that if you're going to turn that on, you're going to drop in your PSNR and your objective metrics. So it's something that has been known. The reason I'm very vocal about this work at the Technion is it's the first time I'm aware of that it's been proven mathematically, that there's like a real model to back it up. And I think that's very exciting because it's something, we've known for a while and now it's actually being proven. The other day when Google was presenting Stadia, Caleb, one of the leads on the Stadia project at Google, specifically said that, they were testing quality and they were doing subjective testing, and they had some modifications that every single synthetic or objective measure they tried to test said there was no difference, and yet every single player could see the difference in quality.
Wow.
no matter which application or which area of video compression and image compression, video compression that we're looking at, there is finally a growing awareness that without subjective testing, you cannot validate your results. You cannot be sure of your quality of the video because, at least for now, it's still people watching the video at the end of the day. We don't have our machines watching it for us quite yet.